Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to War Thunder. And today is another day that I bring you a short guide. Rather short. Yeah, okay, it's nearly 25 minutes long. It doesn't matter. I want to showcase you 5 premium vehicles that you can potentially get your hands on, at least one of them. And this is the November WarBond session, so to speak. And you can collect enough WarBonds in this month to get your hands on one of those premium vehicles. We are talking here about the TB-3M 7032, the D.521, the A7M1 NK9H, the KV-1B, and the M8A1. And I want to just simply begin in how to get your hands on if you have no idea what I'm talking about. First of all, WarBonds. No, that's not WarBonds. This is WarBonds. So per day you can fulfill 3 missions, and for the first mission you get 20 WarBonds, for the second mission you get 40, and for the third you receive 80 WarBonds. 140 WarBonds per day. Sadly, I can't tell you how much those vehicles cost, but you can do the math for yourself how long it will take you for getting enough WarBonds to get one of them. Now, as you can see, I have all of them, and I got my hands on them because I play War Thunder for so long, and I took part in basically every event where you can get your hands on such a rare vehicle. And I have actually footage of the one vehicle that I recommend you to do. Now, first of all, let's begin with the Russian TB-3M 1732. It sits here in the tech tree at rank 1 with a battle rating of 1.3, rightfully so, as I will come to in a moment. It features 5 turrets, and the upper 3 turrets, shown here, and here, have 2 machine guns each, and then we also have 2 rather unique gunner positions under the wings between the engines, where the gunner is actually standing but is absolutely unprotected from behind. And also the guns have rather narrow firing arcs. Also, the damage output by those machine guns is rather low. Furthermore, this plane has absolutely no armor, no protection for the pilots at all. Overall, it is rather fragile, very slow indeed, and the X-ray reveals that the engines are, as I mentioned, unprotected, and we have also fuel tanks all over the wings. Also, if I remember correctly, when I played this plane, those control cables are snatched relatively easy. Now, the one redeeming feature of this plane is the rather high bomb load. You can get either 24 100 kilogram bombs, 12 250 kilogram bombs, or indeed the maximum payload of 3 tons for 500 kilograms and for 250 kilograms. That's quite a bit, especially for 1.3. I think this is the bomber with the highest bomb load at that bat rating. It's also, I think, one of the few rank 1 4-engined heavy bombers. Just a short addition. Historically, this vehicle was planned as a aircraft carrier, a flying aircraft carrier for I-16 fighters to increase their range and their combat effectiveness. You can look it up yourself. Fascinating story. I highly recommend it to read it up. The second vehicle that I wanted to show you is the French D.521 A7M1. It is a rank 2 battle rating 2.7 fighter, and together with its, let's say, sister plane, the D.521 520, it sits here in the British tech tree. Now, back in the days, I purchased the D.520, then it was bound into a bundle, and if I remember correctly, it was taken out of store. But this one was just available 1 or 2 times in events, so it's still rather rare. Are those 2 planes worth going for it, or at least the D521? I would not miss it, but I have to say there are better vehicles you can get your hands on. Now, between those two planes, there is not too much difference. Basically, the D.521 features 20 kilometers an hour better top speed at a bit higher altitude, but therefore has a longer takeoff run and a longer turn time by 1 second. The climb rate and also the weaponry stays the same. Overall, the same appearance. Now we have one 20mm Hispano 404 with ammunition not found. Jokes aside, 60 rounds, you really have to be trigger patient. And also four 7.5mm Mag 1934 machine guns with 2,700 rounds between them. That is quite a bit of machine gun ammunition, but they are the smallest caliber plain machine guns, if I'm informed correctly. And overall, this is the ammunition choice you can get. The default belt is terrible. Universal belt is not convincing. The tracer belts, well, I used it back in the days when the British tracers were a little bit bugged, let's put it that way. But you also can use the stealth belts with 2 armor piercing and 1 incendiary shell or bullet. The belts for the 20mm are here seen: the default, universal, ground targets, tracer, and stealth. By the way, you have to purchase the talisman. It is not a full premium vehicle. Just saying, just mentioning it. And then the third plane is plane-wise the best in my opinion. It's the fantastic A7M1 NK9H. It is really fast. It has a decent or very good climb rate indeed. It sits in the tech tree here. As far as I know, you can purchase it with Golden Eagles in the normal way, right here. And as the day of the recording is, you should get a 50% discount, if I'm not mistaken. So it's truly worth going for it, either for Golden Eagles or WarBonds. Now, I did not regret buying this. It's fantastic. It turns, it climbs, and it has a decent firepower. Now, this is a full premium, and as we can see, it just can carry 260 kilogram bombs, so not worth talking about. And we have two 20mm cannons with 400 rounds and two 13.2mm heavy machine guns with 600 rounds between them. They are mounted here in the guns, and you might have seen this vehicle featured on my channel a few weeks ago when I did a Golden Eagles battle wager, and this was the plane that I trusted in realistic battles with overall the winning Japanese teams, and this plane is well performing indeed. That brings us to the tanks, and the first tank that I want to show you is the KV-1B. As far as I know, it was captured by the Finnish, and it is basically the same tank that you can get in a bundle in the Soviet tech tree, where it is the KV-1E. And there is absolutely no difference between those vehicles, except that the German one has a rather unique skin, and yeah, is rather rare. I think this vehicle was available just once in an event, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the desired feature. It's basically a normal KV-1, but it has some additional armor plating. 30mm here, even 30mm on the side with just a few gaps. Even here we have additional plating above the 75, so basically we have partially 105mm of side armor and 105mm frontal armor with some weak spots here, and partially it's even thicker due to angling. The turret face itself stays the same, and the one thing that I remember when playing it is that the tank itself can absorb damage when it's top tier. When it's up tiered, it struggles, especially because it can't kill the enemy. This is the X-ray, big fuel tanks on the side, engine and transmission in the back, and we have 5 crew members: machine gunner, driver, commander, gunner, and loader, and you should take out those 10 shells in the turret to make survival a bit more realistic. Now the gun is a 76mm F32 cannon, and we have basically 4 shell types: the BR-350A with the MD5 fuse, 150 grams of TNT that packs a mighty punch but just 73mm penetration, with the BR-350B shell with the MD8 fuse. You know, it explodes more in the inside of the tank and not just very shortly after penetration. We just have 108.8 grams of TNT equivalent, but we have a few millimeters more of penetration. Then we have the HE shell and the shrapnel shell. Yeah, the shrapnel shell is rather unique, but how do you use it effectively? I don't know. At SA rank 3, battle rating 4.3, battle rating vehicle. It is a full premium as far as I can tell. I don't remember purchasing the talisman. Yeah, it's rather unique but not very desirable. The one desirable vehicle that I can recommend is the M8A1. And when this thing came out or was available in an event, it was really, really good. And it was also really good when I played it today. It sits here in the tech tree. It was the very first American premium that I owned, and it came shortly out after the closed beta of American tanks, when we even didn't have any American tank destroyer line. So, and while I make a little tank review on this tank, watch and enjoy the fantastic realistic battle that I had. So the armor is not very spectacular, as you might expect from a rank 1 battle rating 2.7 tank destroyer. It is, for all intents and purposes, pretty similar from the concept to a Hellcat. The lower plate is around somewhere between 55 and 47 millimeters thick. The upper plate, while angled at 50 degrees, somewhere around 40 millimeters of thickness. The turret ring is relatively thin with around 15 millimeter maximum. The turret front has an overlap of the gun shield and the turret itself, but 38 millimeters. It saves you from some 20 millimeter autocannon shells and maybe from machine guns. From machine guns definitely, but from heavy machine guns maybe. Sight is, yeah, not terrible, but it won't save you rarely. Some additional tracks here on the relatively thin turret. The rear also not very spectacular. On the X-ray we can see that we have 4 crew members in an unusual arrangement. We have the machine gunner on the left hand side, the driver on the right hand side, the commander and the gunner in the turret. Also we can see that we have the transmission in the front with the engine and the fuel tanks in the back, and a lot of ammunition, namely 46 shells here basically in the middle of the tank. Now the commander also serves as loader, and the gunner actually has command over the machine gun, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that brings me to practically the firepower. This 75mm M3 cannon at battle rating 2.7 is truly powerful. As a full premium you get your hands on the M72 shot, which on a normal tank would be the stock shell. It is a solid AP shell and features 110mm of penetration at point blank range and even 92mm at 500 meters. Not a bad shell, but also there is the HE shell, not worth talking about. But the M61 shot is a true killer shell. It features less penetration with 90mm at point blank range and even 81 at 500 meters. But the funny thing is the explosive filling of 63.7 grams of TNT equivalent. This is a killer shell, as you will see in the gameplay. Overall, this tank is really fast. It has in arcade an incredible horsepower to ton ratio for 15.6 tons. We have 563 horsepower with a top speed of 62, and in realistic we have 15.6 ton still, but just under 300 horsepower. So basically a something around 18 horsepower per ton, which is really good. Also the top speed is 56, and this thing just races. It's fantastic. The reverse speed is around 14 kilometers an hour, so it's not blisteringly fast, but still good enough. What this thing makes fantastic is to get into position really fast, use the fantastic 10 degrees of gun depression, and while the 6.7 seconds of reload for an A screw, which I actually have, you know, this is a rather long reload for that battle rating, but I think it's understandable because this is a truly high caliber shell. You will get the same shell or the same gun with the same shells, firstly on the M4A1 Sherman at battle rating 3.3. So just think about this. And yeah, that's it. Let's continue with the gameplay. And here we are on the fields of Normandy, and I think this is a fantastic map for this tank. Open fields, a lot of dips, a lot of place to move around, a lot of cover, not just solid but also, you know, just view cover. I collected my first few kills and now I'm scouting around. Yeah, you might be right when you say that it is not too challenging at battle rating 2.7, and you're right. But nevertheless, I can showcase the full capabilities of this tank and if it's worth going for it. Yes, it's a tier 1 premium, I know, but as a vehicle for itself, it's fantastic, I have to say. And I'm just observing the area. The one thing that I don't want to do is just run into something that I can't kill before it kills me. And I wasn't quite sure if the engine noises behind me were from enemies or my allied, and I saw this Panzer II. I aimed and I actually hit the engine compartment. Set him on fire, reloading, just a little bit too in front. And that's actually a kill assist. What a shame. Never mind. And I looked again around. You know, the spawn point is right there, so I don't know if this actually spawn camping, and it's actually pretty dangerous. And there is actually a 888 truck, and if I remember correctly, he couldn't kill me with his machine gun, and so I killed him with my machine gun. That was actually the first tank ace in this game. Now, I did you actually spoil right at the beginning of the video that many kills will follow, and the decision went off right here. I decided spawn camping is not very nice, and to hunt them down in open field is much more human-like, so yeah, let's flank around. And I actually went back to friendly lines and then wanted to flank around to the middle cap circle around the big hangar that you actually see in the distance. This is one of those maps that I asked for a long time, you know, relatively open field, a lot of bushes and trees as cover. Normandy, you know, the environment of Normandy itself is perfect for such racing machines. And look at the speed here in realistic battles. It feels much more like an arcade, to be honest. The horsepower to ton ratio is that enjoyable. Yes, it was quite a risk to run over open field, but I was not the only one, and yeah, I happily took this risk. Yeah, you love to take risks when it pays off, don't you? Yeah, can't argue with that. If it's stupid but it works, it ain't stupid. So, our team has actually captured. At this point, I thought the battle is already over. and we have already beaten the entire team, but it was not TB. The enemy team actually had a lot of tanks remaining. Didn't look like that at this point from the leaderboards. But you can see how this thing just moves around. Over grass with nearly 40 kilometers an hour. And a few markers pop up, and I just wanted to close the distance. And what you see right now, you shouldn't try at home. I see this Russian tank here, and one into the engine and the track. He is immobilized. And yeah, I misaimed there into the tracks. I move forwards. And he actually bounces. Bit higher this time. Thank you very much. Yeah, this T-70 never had a true chance against me. Well, I was kind of lucky that he didn't penetrate. And I see another tank, but sadly he was already taken out. Again, this is where the machine gun comes in handy to check if enemies are already down, to not waste a shot. And I was kind of cocky at this point. And I braked hard. I don't know if that was a kill seal or not, but kill is kill, right? Yeah, I guess you guys can forgive me at this point. And then I saw the Panzer IV. And I aimed a little bit too high. It would have been much better to immobilize him with a shot in the engine. But, you know, we are fast enough to be able to hunt him down and secure the kill. Now an aircraft is actually shooting at him and marking him. And I did not know if this shell was for me or for the enemy tank. He was not there. Yeah, the only thing that is a bit odd is the rather slow turret rotation speed. If I'm not mistaken, this turret is hand cranked. Yeah. Sadly, I also couldn't penetrate the tank with my machine gun, and there you could see I overestimated the turret rotation speeds. But a simple shell into the side does the job. And there you can see the beautiful fragmentation from this 75mm. It struggles at higher tiers, but for battle rating 2.7, it's a really, really good gun. Basically, it's the same gun as on the M3 but you have it on a turret, you know. American tank destroyer design. And you know, to scoot around, and I hear a German 20mm gun, but I could not quite see from where it comes, and then I see him. Thank you very much. That was my 9th kill. So, quite a nice result. Yeah, we are not done yet. At this point, it was quite clear that we have pressed back the enemy quite hard. And I saw, for a moment, I played with the thought to go back to C. And as you can see, when looking at the map, a lot of tanks went with me, or I went with them. I don't know who had the idea to go into the middle of the map. But, you know, at C there was no tank. At the beginning of the battle, nearly our entire team was at C. It's C, is it? Yes. And now we are all in the middle of the map. And just as I would have brought my machine gun to work, it ran out of ammunition. Oh my. And then there landed an artillery strike, and I just went the hell out of there. While this tank, you know, is overall pretty good, it is, you know, highly vulnerable to any artillery strikes or airstrikes. And then I see this Russian T-26-4, mark him with the machine gun. One into the loader. He has a very long reload for that battle rating. I missed again. I reverse. As you can see, 14 kilometers an hour reverse speed. Not too bad, not too bad. and this shell finishes him off. Now that was quite lucky that he didn't shoot me with the right ammunition. I guess he had HE loaded or something like that, as it did no damage to my tank. Now the side armor is strong enough to resist low to medium caliber HE shells. And then I saw again the marker popping up, but I had to go closer. I tried to machine gun into the general direction, but it seems like somebody took out the Flak Panzer 1, and so we move on, and indeed we move. I can't talk about it often enough how beautiful this tank drives. It's really nice to drive it. I had it for a few battles. The first few battles were not that successful as I run into basically the open knife. Panzer IVs are pretty nasty, but this T50 had not so much luck. One straight through the front plate, and this is again a good change for with patch 1.63, that the T50 had no chance of bouncing this shell, as it is over 30% larger than the armor thickness of his front plate. So no miracle bounces anymore. And I also finished off this Panzer 3J from the side. That was my 12th kill. So that was quite a nice result, wasn't it? And I think with patch 1.63, again by this 30% caliber shell rule, this tank got even better. Not by much, but a little bit. This shell basically one-shots the enemy. APHE is a very good shell type, as I mentioned numerous times. And what we are basically doing here now is basically spawn camping. And yes, I overlooked the tank here for a moment. Yeah, that was bad blind fire into the bush. And that was just a kill assist. I had no idea what hit me right there, but it doesn't matter. And I think I cut it right here. Nothing more happens, no enemies are alive, and that's the end of the battle. And the usual collection of awards. So, for our 12 kills and 2 assists, we got 37,000 silver lions and 4,116 modification research points, with a, I guess, 10% research point booster. It was a pretty decent result, but you can see the reward is not too huge for research purposes. First in team with 3,155 research points. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I could help you out with the decision for which vehicle to go. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Let me know in the comment section for which vehicle you will decide yourself, if you go for it or if it is too much effort in your opinion. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.